Der Euro wird scheitern. So mein heutiger Gast bei einer neuen Folge Marc spricht mit Tuomas Malinen. Er ist finnischer Ökonom und ein großer Kritiker des Euros. Mit ihm habe ich gesprochen, schon vor einigen Monaten, wann der Euro scheitern wird, was er glaubt, was der Auslöser sein wird und wie ihr euch darauf vorbereiten könnt. Freut euch über ein unglaublich spannendes Gespräch. Ich freue mich über eure Meinung zum Gespräch zu Tuomas, ob wir ihn nochmal einladen sollen und natürlich, ob ihr glaubt, dass der Euro scheitern wird oder ob er für immer uns erhalten bleibt, was ihr macht, um euch davor zu schützen. Ich freue mich natürlich auch, wenn ihr dem Video einen Daumen nach oben gebt, wenn ihr ein Abo dalasst, wenn ihr mir folgt auf Twitter und Instagram und natürlich, wenn ihr das Video teilt mit Freunden und Bekannten, die eine oder andere Meinung zum Euro haben. Jetzt aber viel Spaß mit Tuomas Malinen. Bleibt gesund, bleibt tapfer und denkt immer daran, auch wenn wir den Euro haben, ist die Welt trotzdem besser da draußen, als wir glauben. Herzlichst, euer Marc. Hi Thomas, how are you today? How is it in Helsinki?
Thank you, I'm fine. It's actually really beautiful. I was just in the beach, you know.
Oh, I see that. Yeah. I see that. You got some tan. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, swimming in the sea, and it's surprisingly warm, the sea at this time of the year.
All right, perfect.
But
yeah, nice.
We're doing fine.
You still have a lockdown or something because of the pandemic?
Actually, we have very little lockdowns left. I think our bars have still some restriction, restaurants,
okay.
But they are going to be gone in the mid July.
Okay, marvelous,
so we are
marvelous.
Almost through the first wave.
Okay, second wave is coming, so prepare. So,
well,
however,
if you look at the US, it seems evident that it will come. I think in
definitely.
Germany there's some signs of a second wave or something like that. I heard.
Yeah. I read a lot about pandemics, and they always come in two waves. So we just hope it's not getting worse or something. We will see. I just looked it up. It's a premiere that you're on a German YouTube channel. So please introduce yourself to our audience. So who are you? What are you doing? And why are you here?
Oh yeah, well I don't know. Can I really answer the last question? But anyway, so I'm a CEO and chief economist of GNS Economics. We do economic forecasting and risk analysis on the world economy. I'm also an adjunct professor of economics at the University of Helsinki, although I really haven't had any time to teach in the past 2 years. And I'm sometimes also referred here as the Dr. Doom of Finland.
Welcome to the club.
Dark view. But anyway, we have 6 partners in GNS Economics. I'm the only one with the. We have agreed that I'm the public face.
Perhaps you're the realist. So welcome to the club, because I'm the same in Germany. They call me Crash Prophet, you know, like, I'm just realistic, you know, and all the predictions I made actually came true in the last couple of years. So perhaps, I'm not a prophet. So we will see. So I follow you on Twitter, and I can recommend to all the audience to do the same, to follow you, Tuomas, on Twitter, because you have some really nice insights and analysis about different topics. And I've got one question for the beginning. Was the euro a good idea?
No, it was horrible.
Okay, thank you very much for the show. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. That's a wrap. Yeah. No, it was a really bad idea. You know, it should have, maybe if there would have been Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, I don't know, Austria, very small euro could have worked.
Similar economies.
Yeah, that's the point. But taking Italy, Greece, Finland, it's just we don't really fit in the euro. We are like Finland is. We are in a small open economy. We need our own currency. That's a fact. So after the German Franco proposal on the Corona Fund, I've been actually publicly demanding that Finland leaves the euro.
Okay, and what do you think? Will the euro break up, or will it be like controlled, like that some countries will just leave voluntarily the European zone, the Eurozone?
Yeah, the problem is that I kind of, before the EU's proposal, the Corona Fund proposal, I kind of thought that maybe we could actually have a controlled breakup. But now the problem is that the EU has practically tied the fate of the euro on the fate of the European Union. And I consider that to be a very ill-advised gamble.
Yeah.
It may break up the whole European Union as a result. So, but yeah, I at current time, I'm leaning towards the chaotic breakup of the euro.
Yeah, me too. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's very sad. What do you think? When will the euro collapse?
Well, that's a tricky one. We consider the probability of the euro breakup for the next 5 years to be in a range of 85%.
Wow. Okay. So I have to mention to you, because I think you didn't read it, my last book, it's called The Biggest Crash of All Times. And I made a prediction as well. I said latest 2023, it's over with the European monetary experiment. And perhaps you also looked back. Sorry?
Yeah, I think that can be really good timing or really good estimate.
Yeah, and I also, for my analysis, I look for possibilities. So, and I said the same, it's like over 75%. And what do you think, what will be the trigger that the euro will collapse?
Banking crisis.
Okay, cool.
I said starting from Italy, maybe. But...
Okay, exactly. I said Italy. Italy will be the trigger that the euro will collapse. And I guess it will be banks again, because if you look in the last, the euro is on life support for the last 12, 13 years, and it was always a banking crisis. It was always the banks in the southern part of Europe. So this is really interesting that you have the same opinion than I have. So you wrote a very interesting paper about the looming banking crisis in Europe. Will you tell us something about that, about this paper you wrote?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's based on our analysis we've been doing for quite some time, but we kind of, the problem. Well, this is going to be a bit of a lengthy one, the explanation. But anyway,
we've got time.
Okay, good. The problems got started after the financial crisis. We in Europe we basically bail out all the banks.
Yeah.
While in the US they let many of the banks crash.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kept the bank standing. And we know that if you keep banks standing and not recapitalize them properly, it will create zombie banks.
Yeah.
Which are just, surviving because of the cheap credit provided by the central banks. And when that happens, it starts to zombify also the rest of the economy. But then came the European debt crisis, and the ECB resorted to the outright monetary transactions program, and it led to further zombification of the banking sector. And let's remember that the 2012 or the 2010-2012 crisis was actually not a debt crisis; it was a banking crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically bail out the euro and French banks. So yeah. Woo,
thank you.
Yeah. And then came the negative rates and QE. Yeah. And all these added to the burden of the banks. So they become really unprofitable. And they were kept standing only because of the help of the ECB.
Yeah.
And when you have I have a background in economic growth and economic crisis. Those are my fields of academic research. So, and we know from a banking crisis emerges when you have a highly leveraged, fragile banking system which faces a shock. Shock can be anything. It can be a recession or then the outbreak of a pandemic. And we are at that point. So the European banking sector was driven on the brink of extinction, and now I think the extinction has arrived in the form of the coronavirus. So it will take for a while before the actual losses of the banks will be visible, because the ECB is trying to cover them, all the time. But it's in our view, it's really difficult to avoid the banking collapse of the European banks.
Yeah, we saw that the central banks put more and more money into the system because the European economy was already in recession in 2019. You know, we already started quantitative easing again. We started the purchasing program again in November with 20 billion a month. So there was already trouble. And I think Corona just fast forwarded everything. You know, it just was like on speed, everything. And we would have been in the zone of problems anyhow in 2020 and 2021, because I thought the recession, I wrote it in the book as well, the recession will come in 2020. Italy was already in the recession. Germany was on stagnation. We had zero growth. So we had a lot of problems.
Actually, Finland was in recession too at the end of 2019. So.
Yeah, exactly. More and more countries, Italy, everything. And since 2008, if you look at industrial production, you know, the southern part of Europe never came back to the old highs. So Germany was definitely the big winner because the euro is really cheap for our product. So everybody buys a Mercedes and a chainsaw from Steel and a Bosch and everything. We are like the big winners and everybody else is the loser. And this is not actually the thought or the idea of the European Union and the project of freedom, I would say, and peace. It separates the people more and more. So we see the packages for rescuing to keep the euro on life support getting bigger and bigger. We talk about TLTRO. We talk about PSPP. That's all the programs. And now we have PEP. And, you know, PEP, it's a German economist, Mrs. Schnabel. She follows me on Twitter as well, who is buying all the stuff, all the bonds and everything. It's 1.35 trillion euro. It's amazing. You know, it's amazing. It's like 47% of the European GDP already, what the Eurozone bought. So what do you think? How long can it work? And how will it end? And what will be the impact if this ends chaotically?
That's the very good questions there.
Thank you.
The PEPP, actually, if you look at first, I think it's completely illegal.
Yeah, may I ask? I don't know if you knew it, but the German Constitutional Court in Karlsruhe said already that the program is not aligning with the German law. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Did, yeah. And that was on the PSPP, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is different.
Yes.
The European Court of Justice ruled that the public sector purchase program, if it follows the capital key of the ECB, it's monetary policy.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but the PEPP does not follow the capital key. So you have to consider it as a financing of states, which is strictly banned in the TFEU Article 123.
Yeah, in the treaty. Yes. Yeah.
And how long will this last? Well, I think when the real the hit on the real economy becomes visible on the banking sector and the banking crisis starts, this is when it all comes crashing down. So we are waiting for that. Or there will be the judges in Karlsruhe will uphold their decision and they will end the participation of Bundesbank on the program. That would give another shock. Or the Corona fund collapses. But the point is that ECB, when it's just a problem in the financial sector, it kind of can muddle through or keep the sector muddling through. Yeah. When it comes on the real economy, you cannot fix consumption, you cannot fix corporations, you cannot. Yeah. So then the hit becomes evident, and then you have non-performing loans increasing and possibly the capital ratios of banks falling, and that's when you get the banking crisis. And I think that's the point when this all will end. And then it all depends at what time Italy will leave. And when it leaves, it will probably default on the debt held by the ECB, which will cripple it. It will completely wipe out the capital of the ECB, and it needs to be recapitalized by other participating central banks or even government. And if the Italy also defaults on the rather massive target 2 balances, they will fall also on the ECB. And then if that happens, then the capital of the participation of central banks will not be enough to cover it. So then you will need the governments to step in. And this created a massive mess, because then we would have had effectively a fiscal union in the Eurozone. And I don't know, what do you think? Will Germany recapitalize the ECB if we come to that? Will the public allow it to happen? What will?
Yeah, I think the public not, but the politicians will do it because they feel urged to do it, and it's a political experiment we're witnessing, actually, because Germany really wants the Eurozone because they need it, They need it more actually than Finland, for example, because we need it because of the weak euro. Because without the weak euro, we wouldn't be exporting all our goods and stuff. We would be much more poor, because if we have our sovereign currency, it would get overvalued and nobody would buy our cars and our products. And we had a big problem. We had millions of unemployed people in Germany. So that's why the politics try to keep the euro alive, because they know it would hurt us the most, actually. And if Italy or Spain or Finland leave the Eurozone, they can devalue their own currency. They have the freedom to do it right now. We're all like prisoners in this ECB construct, which is not good for the southern part or for other countries. The big winner of the Eurozone, it's Germany, actually. And that's why the German politicians will pay billions and even perhaps trillions. But one day people will lose trust. They will go on the streets and they will say, stop, it's enough. Because you are playing with our wealth, with our money. And the impact will be horrible. Because I think if this collapses chaotically, the impact will be like, we will lose like 90 or 95% of our wealth, of our purchasing power.
Yeah, could be. But do you discuss about the euro and why Germany is trying to keep it together in Germany?
Nah, you're not allowed to. I do.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I do. But I'm the fear monger. I'm the crash prophet. I'm negative, and I just want to sell my books and everything. But hey.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, but we're brother in minds, Tuomas. We're brothers in minds. We have to visit. We have to get a network and come together. But if you look back in history, and I love history because history is always a very good advisor. Monetary unions never worked because you can't put strong economies together in one currency cassette with weak economies. It's not working. It never worked, And if you look back into history, I guess you did it as well. You just see it never worked. It always breaks up. It's always expensive, and always the citizens have to pay the debt.
Yes, yeah, that's how it goes. And all the monetary unions that are not don't have the federal union to support it, or they don't have an exit clause. Every single one has broken down.
Exactly. Yeah. May I ask, how did the Finnish economy develop after the introduction of the euro?
Till the global financial crisis, okay. Then a long stagnation. We had the longest recession, lasted for over 4 years after the debt crisis, and it didn't go well after, and then when that was the time when we started to discuss briefly on the benefits of the euro, and we actually we just published an updated report. We actually on how Finland's exports would have developed if we would have remained in markka, and this was actually a report which was our kind of a introduction, or when we came public. This was a report that took us there in 2012, and now we updated it in just a month's time, and we got a result that if we would have remained in markka, our exports would have been in the first quarter of this year been higher than they were at the magnitude 40 to 50%.
Crazy. And does the public and the politicians accept your analysis? Do you talk about it in the media, or is it just like covering it up and don't mention it, like in Germany? Okay.
So it's funny that the euro has become a kind of a religion in the media. You don't speak bad about it. You don't hear bad about it. It's strange. And then they publish these polls saying that the support for the euro is very strong. It's like the same thing you had in the Soviet Union in the 1960s and 1970s when people did not know. Soviet people didn't know anything about the outer world, and then they had these polls. How do you think Soviet Union is doing?
Sure.
Really good, really nice. And the same thing here. If you cannot criticize something, then it's not really stable. It's a fragile concept, and that's what a euro is. And it has been prepped up by the media, who doesn't, they don't write about it honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, if you say something against the euro or even the European Union, you get stigmatized. You're like, he's a populist, or he wants to do this, or he has his own ideas about something. You get, really negative press, actually. And I just argue with facts, actually, because I didn't make the history that all monetary unions failed. It's not my fault. I didn't invite it, or it's not my invention. So, however, it's funny that you have the same problems in Finland than in Germany. And I talk to other economists and experts all over Europe, and they all tell me the same. It's like the holy grail. You never touch it. You're never allowed to talk about it negatively, or you get, stoned or something. Yeah. It's horrible. So
in Finland, actually, if you criticize the euro, you got the one-way ticket to the true Finns.
Yeah, okay.
If you criticize the euro, you're a true Finn. No, I'm not. I'm a liberal.
Same in Germany. We have the Alternative für Deutschland, AfD, and I was against the euro even before this party was founded, before that, I was like, you're too negative, and then this party came, it's like conservative right wing, and now they're like, hey, you're a right wing. Hey, I never voted for them. I never talked to them. I don't care about parties. I don't believe in politics anymore, because I know they all serve money, because follow the money. And so parties will never change something. It doesn't matter if there's a left wing, right wing, liberal, socialist government. They don't fucking care. They never worked, They look just for their own gain in the game. That's it. But okay, this is getting really political.
We are there. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. The money and power, that's what they are looking for now. Yeah. It's sad.
It is. We're in the end game. So what do you think? When the euro will collapse, will the European Union also break apart?
Probably now, when the fate of the European Union is, or the euro is tied to the European Union. So unfortunately, yeah. Now it looks like it will take the European Union with it. And we had the European Union had a golden chance of kind of re-establishing herself after the Brexit. But nothing has happened.
Nothing.
They invented this term called single market. Yeah. Before it was called common market, but now it's single, because it's singularity. So, and we cannot take to Britain here. We have the single market, and to trade freely, you don't need such a construct as the European Union. You don't need it. There are dozens of well, actually hundreds of kind of free trade zones and agreements between governments and countries, and we don't need the European concept of European Union to trade freely. Yeah, and now they are trying to kind of push Britain out without any proper deal, and I don't know. It sickens me how they are treating Britain here.
Yeah. I think the history of the European Union is actually a history of failures, failure. Since 2008, with every crisis, they failed. Every crisis. At first we had the great financial crisis, yeah? Then we had the euro crisis, banking crisis, 2010, 2012. Then we had the refugee crisis. They failed. They can't handle crisis, I guess. And then we had 2020, the pandemic. And the European Union did nothing. They failed again. So it's just a history of failure. So why do we need them? Why do we give them like 1.5 billion euro for what? And then we all vote for somebody, a Weber or Westgarten, and then somebody totally different comes up on the map and says, hey, I'm your new boss. You never voted for me, but hey, I'm here, Ursula von der Leyen. Seriously, what the F, How was the sentiment, the reaction in Finland about this, or did it just didn't care?
They didn't care because they didn't really report it. When they had the meeting on the Corona Fund on the 18th and 19th of June, I had to go. We actually went out with our partner looking for an information about it in a Finnish media. Couldn't find it.
So is this propaganda?
They failed to agree, and no one reports it. What the,
Yeah, so this is propaganda because I wrote in my book that we experience actually a loss of trust since 2008. We lose trust in institutions, in politics, in banks because they betrayed us, and then the politics came up on the map and bailed out the banks with our tax money and gave them guarantees and everything. And afterwards, the media supported this idea and it was propaganda actually. And then they supported the left and right-wing parties all over the place. They're actually responsible that these parties got stronger and stronger, my opinion. So right now we are at the end of a cycle. I think we lost trust in everything, in money, in institutions, in politics, and everything. And this is a really dangerous area we are heading now. And I think the cycle will break till 2023 and everything will change. Everything. How we pay, how we live, how we work, how we get governed or something, everything, how we vote, because people are learn through crisis. It's always the same, because you're young, you never experienced a crisis, yeah? But ask your grandfather or your grandmother, they experienced the Second World War, for example, or other difficulties during their lifetime, and people learn through crisis. If you look back in your history, for example, when did you have the greatest impact? When did you learn the most? When you had a crisis, when you made a mistake, I guess, try and error. That's in our genes, actually. And right now we make a big mistakes and we will fall on our nose and it will be such a hard awakening.
I remember the banking crisis of Finland, which was the deepest recession or depression on any Western country since the Great Depression. So I remember it rather good. And at the same time, the Soviet Union break up.
Yeah.
So and they were excellent examples. Finland handled the banking crisis actually really well. There were other issues concerning that kind of put people in the lifelong debtors prison, but that was kind of a political mistake. But if you look at in the economy wise, it actually went rather well.
Yeah.
And if you look at the breakup of the Soviet Union, it was a massive catastrophe. But crises always end when you let things work. And that's why, like, I've been doing research on the economic crisis for 10 years, a little over. And you notice that when you always tend to recover from crisis if you let the failed institutions collapse, you free the economy, and you cut the debts, and it always recovers from the crisis.
Let the market work, let the capitalism work,
and get rid of the failed institutions. That's how, when the IMF goes into crisis countries, they look for the failed institutions and drive them down, or they did before the Greek crisis. There they didn't follow any of their playbook, basically.
Yeah.
But that's what you get. And I am not, like I've been telling everyone, I don't fear crisis because I know how they go, but I fear stagnation, because that really, that when it lasts for a long time, economic stagnation, it really stresses people. It gives rise to all kind of destructive political forces and stuff like that. We should not fear about economic crisis. We should fear about economic stagnation.
Yeah. So, what signals do you watch, or what can you recommend to our audience? What should they watch very closely to see if the collapse of the Eurozone, of the euro, is getting closer? Is there anything you watch?
It's only thing you can basically watch, because all the indicators are on the red already in the Eurozone. You look at the banks, you look at the target 2 balances, Only thing you can look truly is the political speech. So how do they communicate stuff in Italy? How do they communicate stuff in Finland? The thing is that if a country will leave the euro, all the planning needs to be done in secret. So you can't really say when it's going to happen. But if there are any reasonable politicians in Italy or any other places, they will make all the preparations in secret, and then one day they will just announce that we have left.
So what do you think?
But one thing you should follow is the breakup of the political cohesion. If we don't have some kind of agreement on the Corona fund, let's say by the end of August, start expecting a drastic moves concerning the euro even within the fall.
Okay.
So that's one thing. If you look at the history of monetary unions, there's one kind of a law there, and it's if the political cohesion or the political will to push the zone into further integration, if it fails or breaks, then the breakup of the union is not far. That's something we know from historical academic research. That's one thing. You should really, if the political cohesion starts to go, then the union will follow. So that's probably the one thing. Watch closely how different countries, how different leaders speak about the Corona fund, and what will they agree. They probably cannot agree on anything, but well, we'll see. But watch that closely, because if that construct breaks down, there is very, very little to keep the countries from leaving the Eurozone.
So what do you think will be the impact when the euro breaks down and fails?
Well, there is going to be a mayhem first, for sure, but the mayhem is coming regardless from the massive banking crisis. So actually, if we lose the euro at the same time, I don't think it will make a big difference. But euro can initiate the banking crisis if Italy leaves, for example. So it depends on the sequence of the events. So if the banking crisis starts first and only after the euro breaks, then the euro breakup will probably not show a lot of difference from all the chaos otherwise, all the chaos that is already going on. But if the euro breaks up first and then it starts a banking crisis, then it might be a different story. The hole will be deep regardless. That's coming. We are going a deep economic hole, that's for sure. But what will determine how we'll get out of it is that, do we get rid of the euro at the same time? If we get, I think the Europe after the crisis will have a bright future. But if we try to preserve the euro at any cost, it will doom us to decades-long economic stagnation and zombification and destruction of the middle class and all bad stuff. What stagnation, So we need to get rid of the euro and the over-indebtedness problem. Basically.
Okay. And what kind of time frame are we talking about? How long will be the decline if the euro breaks up chaotically?
I don't know. It depends. If it starts next year, we are forecasting a first signs of recovery to start to emerge at 2023.
So 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, 2 years in a big, but the whole crisis, the deepest phase of the crisis is probably going to be 3 years. We are expecting the banking crisis to start this fall, depending.
Okay. On which banks?
No, we don't.
Deutsche Bank, Commerzbank.
No comment there. So, but it will take about. We consider that it will take about 3 years, but it can be a bit longer if they're trying to postpone it. But you could see a recovery in 2024 and fast growth in 2025 even. And it depends if we get rid of the euro, it will be good. It will recover.
Okay, but if we, for example, the banking crisis is coming, and I think they will defend the system and their privilege till the last man standing. They will put insane amounts of money into the system, into the banks. They will give them money for free, and we see negative interest rates. perhaps even a digital euro. They're already working on it, like Bitcoin, but on the blockchain for the ECB. So then nobody can withdraw their money and get it out of the banking system. So how long would it take then till we see a recovery? Like 10 years?
10 years at minimum.
And do you expect they will give it up, or will we see the last man standing? And what do you think about a digital euro?
I don't know. Well, that's the same idea to keep the currency intact. That's a desperate effort for sure. But we are really in uncharted waters here. We really have to just see how this goes. But we have to remember that all that is required for the whole system to start to collapse is one political leader with enough willpower and support in one country, and she will just say that this is enough, we will leave, and it crumbles down. And that's why the political unity is so important. We need just one Eurozone leader to say that, no, this is done. And then it starts to unravel, and it will be extremely difficult to get it undone anymore, or stop the unraveling. So that's all that is needed. So we are really thin ice. So I think theoretically the euro can survive, but looking at the probabilities, we don't consider that to be a high possibility. But the point is that when the euro starts going, we should just let it go. Do not fight. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Like in a bad relationship, if she wants to go, ciao. Get happy. Be happy. Without me? Yeah, it's the same. So. What do you think? What kind of monetary system will we see after the breakup of the euro? Will we see sovereign currencies? Will we see digital currencies for each country? And what kind of monetary system will it be? Will it be like attached to gold, like in the old days, or what do you expect there? Do you have any vision?
Well, it depends on how bad the banking crisis will get. If you can see in a systemic level, which means that most of the major banks will fall, and governments are able to support maybe or keep just one bank standing per country, then we would see a gold-backed system. That's how it has. Yeah, that would be it. If it's more milder version, we probably return to the sovereign currencies. And it will, and then we need to keep the pan-European payment systems intact, because letting those go would be just insanity.
Yeah.
But then we know what will happen to the cryptos when the banking crisis gets going. We don't know is the market for cryptos liquid enough during crisis so that they will function properly or what. So cryptos are definitely a thing of the future, but I'm not sure we are there yet.
Okay.
So I'm betting my hopes are currently that we go in the system of sovereign currencies with pan-European payment systems. That would be the optimal thing.
Okay. So how do you prepare for this outcome? What are you doing as a private person to protect your money, your wealth?
Keep cash, keep gold.
Cash? You mean euro?
Yeah, because the thing is that I don't know. Well, it's really difficult to print currencies fast. So when the breakup happens, you will use whatever currency you have. It will just be Germany's euro or Finnish euro, and you will have capital controls.
Yeah.
So if you want to invest in some country during the crisis, you need to have funds in that country to able to invest. And one country that could be a very good place to invest is Britain now, because it's out soon on all of this. But keep cash and keep gold. That's the thing now.
What do you think about Bitcoin?
Well, it may work or may not work, so it's a risk.
Okay.
In the coming crisis, it's a risk. So we will only know after the fact how it behaved in the crisis. So it's a risk.
Okay. And what just lost my question. Just a second. I can cut this out.
Don't cut it out. It keeps you human, you know.
I'm not human. No. Wait a second. What was the question? I had such a good question for you, Guy. How do you prepare yourself for the end of the euro? gold. You said cash. Oh, yeah. What do you expect? Will we see a deflationary shock or will we go directly into inflation? Because if we go directly in inflation, cash would be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, we don't believe in the inflation scenario in the sense that it would require that the central banks would really start to fund governments directly. And
they already do, Thomas.
No, but it's indirect. It's different if you cover the fiscal deficits directly and you use that money to. That's how hyperinflations get born. So and it's so deeply not allowed in the Eurozone, and Christine Lagarde has actually ruled that out completely. So,
but did they ever care about rules and laws?
No. But this is something else because economists know that will be a problem. And I think if someone would propose to Bundesbank that you should finance the government, I'm kind of sure that Germans would say no way. You have the Weimar. I probably remember the Weimars.
Of course, I studied it.
Yeah, that would not fly, and
so,
it would just the European system of central banks would fracture if any such proposal would be made.
But don't you think if they're totally desperate, if they're with the back at a wall, like is a German saying, and they're totally desperate, don't you think they will print money like crazy and will send checks like the US to the people like helicopter money and say, okay, invest please, and if you don't invest in 1 month, it will disappear. There's no purchasing power.
That's possible, but you are forgetting that we need only one strong political leader for the whole system to collapse.
Yeah.
So if this would be a federal union,
okay,
the risk of hyperinflation would be high. But getting all the countries on board on this, I don't see that happening. And even in Finland, if there would be any talk about actual helicopter drops or something, people would freak out. And
okay.
like the Bank of Finland is still our parliament's bank. It's legal. If Parliament says that you have to do this, then you have to do this. So it's Bundesbank. So ECB is kind of borrowing our authority, but we can take it back anytime we like.
Okay. So you don't see any inflation. You expect more perhaps a deflation or perhaps even a deflationary shock?
Deflation is shock, but there's the thing that if we have the bad second wave of the coronavirus and it breaks down the logistical chains, then we could see inflation for sure.
Okay, sure.
But that would be kind of out of the system shock.
Yeah.
But banking crises are always deflationary if that there is basically no exception unless there is this direct government financing, and then you get hyperinflation in banking crisis, and that's not good.
Okay, because my vision in the book was at first we see through the recession, we will see a deflationary shock. Then we see the central banks printing like crazy. The balance sheet will explode to 10, 15 billion. Banks will get nationalized. Banks will get bankrupt, will file for insolvency. And then they print even more money and then they will overdo it. And then we will see inflation and hyperinflation. Then this will be the end and the reset of the currency system. This is my vision. What do you think about this?
Well, this is possible, but I don't see that happening Eurozone wide. Like in Finland, that would never happen. Our, although we have the politician Olli Rehn running the bank, there are really skillful people just below him, and they would stop that nonsense. Our parliament would not allow that happen. Our people would not allow to happen. So I don't Finland like when we had the very deep depression and the banking crisis in the 1990s, we never resorted any kind of that thing. There was some talk, some parliament members kind of proposed that we should monetize the debt, but they were they were just gone. They were just shut down completely to such proposals. So Finland would not follow that road, that's for sure.
But would the ECB care? Because European law.
ECB can do whatever it wishes.
Exactly, because European law is always.
There's a point that we control our central bank.
Okay.
And pushing Finland to accept direct debt monetization It's possible, but it's very unlikely.
Okay.
That will not happen here. And I'm rather confident that the Bundesbank, you will not accept in Germany either. There will be a public revolt.
Yeah, but if you look at the ruling of the Constitutional Court in Germany, ECB and the European Union already said, hey, we couldn't care less what are you ruling, because European law is always above national law, so you can do whatever you want, we just do our stuff.
That's actually complete bullshit. National laws always trump international laws. That's the lesson of history. International laws apply only as long we allow them to apply. We have only one set of constitutions in Europe, and that's in each country. And we are pretending that the European laws supersede everything, but that's not true. If we just say that European laws that we don't care, what are they going to do? Send the army here? No. That's the lesson of crisis in history. National laws always trump the international treaties. We are not talking about laws of the Eurozone per se. These are treaties.
True.
National laws always go over them, and that's when he did the wrote the paper on the how to leave the Eurozone. We did it in Finnish example. We can interview a lot of international and domestic legal experts, and there was a unanimous view that if a country declares a national emergency, it can do whatever she wishes. So there is no such international law that can bind us here if we like to go. EU laws bind us only because we allow them to do so, and period.
Okay. So do you think Finland will leave the Eurozone?
Let's hope.
I wish you the best. I think this is a good last word. Tuomas, it was a real pleasure for me. It was very entertaining, very thoughtful and deep. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And of course, our audience, if you liked the video, please give it a thumb up, share it with your friends, with your bankers and with your politicians in every country. And I hope to see you again on my channel, Tuomas.
Yeah, this was really nice. I think we can have another go in the fall when we see where we have landed.
Exactly. You said the banking crisis will start in fall. I will keep it in mind and then get back to you. And yeah, you have a last word for our audience. You want to say something like goodbye or anything?
Be proud of your nationality.
Okay, Tuomas. Thank you very much. Stay healthy and see you again. Bye.
You too. Bye.